I wonder, as you look at the season, you look at your team, you look at Michigan State's team, the fact that they've got some seniors that they've been able to lean on for a long time and playing at a pretty elite level, how much has that meant to their success, to what they are this season?
I think it's obviously a tremendous advantage. I mean, I think back to where those guys were when they, talking about Valentine and Costello, just where they started and the progress, seeing what they've done and the players that they've become, and that's ultimately kind of what it is supposed to be when those guys dedicate themselves the way they did.
Do you ever think what this team would be like if you had like one senior? Like realistically, what difference would having one senior make on this team?
Well, I think the one thing that upperclassmen do is they add maturity. They add just a sense of knowing. And I'll give you a classic example. Matt Sylvester was sitting and watching practice a couple days ago, and we were doing a drill, and we kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And I said, the difference between young guys and old guys, I said, when you were a senior, you would have said, hey, the old man just wants us to do it this way. Let's do it so then we can get on to the next thing. But sometimes they don't quite grasp that. But I think from that standpoint, college basketball, when you've got, somebody sent me an article about what the seniors in college basketball said about their experience. It was incredible, just their maturity and the things that they now deem important. You know what I'm saying? Where sometimes when you have a young team, they're wondering how much Gatorade they're going to get after practice, as opposed to experiencing the whole thing. And it sort of is what it is. You grow into that. Now, with that said, I laugh because I was telling somebody about D'Angelo last year. I mean, he just had when he sat up here, he had a different sense. When he was on the court, there was just something different about him. So sometimes guys have that.
Forbes went off again this week. I'm sure you saw against Rutgers. What do you guys need to do to prevent him from getting so many open looks? And is it getting him to put the ball on the floor? Is it just denying him the ball entirely? Easier said than done, but what do you need to do?
Yeah, I mean, we've got to do a better job staying connected. Obviously he's shooting the basketball at a level right now that is as good as anybody in the country, probably including Steph Curry. But you say that we've got to use our length. We can't make the mistakes. Now he's going to make some, but the shots that we gave him in game one, I felt like we tried to shortcut things a couple times. He gets one in transition because one of our guys doesn't run back that needed to run back, and so we had to overhelp, and he gets a wide open shot. Those are the type of things that it's everybody involved.
Are you saying that Bryn Forbes is the Steph Curry of the Big Ten?
No. This week he is. What he's kind of been through. No, I just say that from the standpoint of he's making shots at an alarming rate right now. I mean, 7 against us, 11 the other night. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, that's in my mind kind of John Diebler-like, and I know how good of a shooter John was. So I'd say he's probably more of a John Diebler, Big Ten-wise.
I'm going to be honest, John Diebler is not as good of a headline name for us as Steph Curry, if you had said Steph Curry.
Yeah. So you were trying to get me to go somewhere.
You're not going there? But is there, how far do you push it of, we're not going to let him take 10 3-pointers in this game. We're going to make him drive. I don't care if we overplay him and he gets by you and we have to help. How far do you push it with a 3-point shooter who's really hot to sort of draw the line and say we're not going to get beat that way, or can you go too far that direction?
Yeah, I think you can go too far just strictly from the standpoint of the other guys out there can play too. I mean, Valentine's could be the National Player of the Year. So you're keying on one guy, but that's the beauty of a really, really good basketball team. I'm fine with, and as we told our guys, we made a couple mistakes going into last game, and they made us pay for them. And we've made some changes of how we want to guard and what we want to do, and hopefully we'll be better at it. But the one thing you look at in the Rutgers game the other night. I mean, once he got going, they were drawing up all kinds of stuff to get him shots, and he was nailing them.
I just want to ask you about the value of what you did this past weekend with Iowa. I know you try to leave things in the past, but is that something that you want these guys to build off of from a confidence standpoint, beating a really good team? Those little things kind of seem to matter, especially this time of year. Do you want them to build off that like that?
We do. Obviously, I think any win at this point of the season, you're trying to build off of it. And the good thing for us is we played Michigan State, we played Iowa, now we're playing Michigan State again. And in some ways, offensively, they're a little bit similar in terms of the push. So we've been able to draw from film kind of both games, showing what we did well, what we didn't do well. So that's probably been, I don't want to say advantageous, but it's probably been more specific for our guys in terms of that. But I think from the standpoint of how we had to win that basketball game without Jay-Sean Tate, that was the second game we had played without him, and I thought our guys showed just a lot of toughness down the stretch for us. So that was a good thing.
Coach, are you planning on switching around the lineup a little bit, or doing it differently at least than what you had last time in the first matchup with Michigan State? Are you going to put Mickey in there again, or are you going to maybe?
Yeah, probably. I think that we're looking more of just throughout the course of the game matchups, because we felt like we had maybe some wrong guys guarding guys, so I today, right now, probably start the same. But like I said, we've been spending more time talking about once the game gets going and we're subbing, they're subbing, who do we want guarding who.
And then it's been a long season for you guys, up and down, some big wins, some big losses. At this point now, do you feel like your backs are against the wall to get your tourney hopes, keep your tourney hopes alive?
Yeah, it's funny because I really haven't thought about that, and even when we've been 26-2 or whatever, I hadn't thought about that. I think right now this team is sitting in a position at 11-6 in the Big Ten, and quite honestly, if in December, if I said we were going to be 11-6 going into Michigan State, you guys would have laughed at me. And so I like where we are. I like the point of you've got a log jam in terms of a lot is going to be decided this weekend, just in terms of kind of the Big Ten standings, and then you take a quick break and go into next week, and then at that point maybe there's a little more to it. But I just know this, regardless of NCAA tournament or whatever it is, we're going to have to play great basketball tomorrow.
I'll just follow up on that. The idea you're playing the number 2 team in the country on their court. If you win this game, you're kind of on the bubble. Is this enough? Do you feel that it would put you guys into the tournament? Can you look at it that way?
I don't know. I'd hope. I'm going to celebrate if we win. I'm going to celebrate like it did. But no, I don't know. I haven't, honestly, you guys don't understand. I don't look at that stuff. We got to make sure our minds are right and ready to play tomorrow. And I know this with this basketball team, when you bring more to the table, they get confused easily. So let's just stick to what we got to do.
I want to ask about Mickey. How important was it for him to see the ball go in the basket, and you got some production other than zeros across there from him? You got 6.7 rebounds, kind of helping make up for what Jay-Sean was giving you. If you get something similar from that every game out of him, just how important would that be? Well,
I think it's going to be tremendous for this team. Strictly from the standpoint of Mickey has shown to play some pretty good basketball for us, and I really think he's settling into who he is, and we're trying to get him to simplify things and tell him it's okay to look at somebody that you're passing to, and I think that that ball going in the basket for him the other night, him getting some rebounds was just sort of validation for him that okay, I can do this.
Thad, you kind of hinted at it, but Michigan State kind of on the perimeter has some smaller, quicker guards, Valentine, Forbes, Harris. You guys maybe have a little bit more size and length, maybe not as quick out there. Just how do you make sure you use that length to your advantage as opposed to how it went the other?
We have to do what we're supposed to do, and when I say that, everything we've practiced for 125 times, we've got to stick to it, even if it doesn't look. If you think you can shortcut something, don't shortcut it, because our defense is designed for all 5 guys to be involved in the play, and like I said. In game 1, we just made some bad decisions because it looked like it was easier, and we ended up paying the piper. So with that said, to use our length, we have to do what we do, because the other guys hopefully are going to be where they're supposed to be, and that's what makes us effective.
Every team plays better at home, obviously, than they do on the road, but it seems like playing on the road has maybe affected you guys more so. The big losses, the overtime games, I think you were stuck on single digits for a while in your last road game. Is it just youth, or is there something more to it that affects you guys when you're not playing in this building?
I think that some of it could be youth. You looked at some of these places we've been in. Mark's the only guy that's actually been in them before. But with that said, you hope at this point of the season that everybody is comfortable with what you're going up against. I think we've definitely played better on the road lately. I mean, the Indiana and Maryland games, and then I think we went to Purdue after that, and we were better, but can still grow. But I also think, as you said at the beginning of the question, everybody plays better at home, and it's just something you have to contend with.
And you mentioned Mark. I mean, he would. Even when he's struggling, when he's playing well, he seems pretty level-headed and approaches it the same way. But in your eyes, is he different? Has he been different over the last 2, 3, 4 games, maybe coming out of that Rutgers game when he went scoreless?
Yeah, I think Mark his demeanor in practice has been a little bit different. I like the focus that he's playing with right now. He's showing some emotion. He's, everybody gave Keita the credit on the block at the end of the game the other day, but Mark made one of the best defensive plays I've ever seen on that play. I mean, he faked and stayed home because I think he was going to pass it for a 3, and Mark did exactly what he was supposed to do. And that was something maybe only the coaches see, but that was a great play by Mark Loving, and just to see him get excited and he's getting to the line, he's scoring a lot of different ways. It's obviously big for our team.
Did you have to sit down with him, because he obviously at times seemed to just not have the energy to want to do things like that? And did you have to sit down with him and bring that out, or did he sort of do that on his own? A
little bit of both. I mean, you're constantly talking to these guys, myself, the entire staff, but I just, like I said, I think Mark, you hope the light's gone on, and with JT going down, he's kind of accepting a new role on this team. He's doing a good job.
And big underdogs going there before. I think, the year Will hit the shot, you won the Big Ten. They had beaten you by double digits here, and you went there and won. I don't know that was a different team and everything.
Right.
Will was a senior, but what does it take to win there? Is there any lessons learned? Because that's, there are places on the road, and there's there because they're good and they're fans and everything.
Right.
What does it take to get it done?
I think that you've got to score. We've had a tendency to get down early up there and fight and scrape and claw. I mean, the one year we were down 17 in the second half, and Shannon had the shot. It went to overtime, and but as we've talked about, I mean, that's one of those places where you got to be as together as you can possibly be on every possession, and we have had some incredible battles. I mean, the one time we had one, I don't know if it was my second time up there, and 14 tries or whatever, and Jamar hit that big 3. There's just, you guys are going to have to make plays down the stretch to win the game for us.
I wanted to ask quickly, because I'm guessing you won't do this. Which assistant coach is most likely to drive himself crazy and try to figure out your Big Ten tournament seed? And I'm guessing, I could see Dave doing that, but I'm guessing maybe it's Jake, because he's got to prepare the video. I mean, because you just talked about all the possible scenarios. You could literally drive yourself crazy trying to figure that out.
I'm sure those guys know, but they know not to talk to me about it. Honestly, I guess Sunday will be when I find out who we play or when we play or whatever. But I know those guys are on it because they're trying to get prepared and have an understanding of who we're going to play. But right now, I don't. It could be just about anything can happen.
So what kind of a scramble is that? I mean, just describe what that's like, people trying to sort through that, or...
Well, I think at this point there's not a whole lot we can do because the games sort of have to play out, and so many games can affect so much. So, you know, with that said, I don't even know who else plays this weekend, but I think there's a chance of a lot of movement. All right, thanks, guys.